Welcome back. I know you guys we're looking forward to this next installment. This is going to be our 7th grade introduction to order of operations with positive and negative numbers. Here's what we definitely should already know. We should already know that a positive, if you go ahead and you multiply it, and this is going to be our new symbol for multiplication. We're going to start using that instead of the X symbol because the X could be confused for a variable X or the letter X. And so we're going to use this multiplication. If you multiply two positives, okay, or if you go ahead and take two positives and you divide them, you're always going to get the same type of answer. This is always going to be a positive right here. So you have to go ahead and know that this answer is going to be positive. Well, what happens if both of them are negative? What happens if you take two negative numbers and you take both of these negatives and you multiply them together? Well, here's the great thing. As long as they're both negative and you multiply them, you still get a positive. So that's awesome. See, you're always going to get a positive if you're multiplying two positive numbers or if you're multiplying two negative numbers. Well, what about if I go ahead and I divide these numbers instead? If I divide these two negative numbers, do I still get a positive? Yes. As long as they're both positive or they're both negative and I multiply or divide, the answer always comes out what? Positive. So that's really nice. But what happens if one of them is going to be positive and the other one's going to be negative? For example, what happens if I go ahead and I take this answer right here and I make this first one a negative? Well, if this first one is a negative right here, this is going to change to a negative answer. See, as long as one of them is different, you're going to go ahead and get a negative. But what happens if I'm multiplying and one of them is different? Like, let's say this second one here. Let's change that to a negative number. What happens there? Well, here's the good news. As long as you're multiplying or dividing and one of them is different, the answer is always going to be negative. So that's a nice little rule there. As long as one is positive and the other one's negative and you multiply or divide, the answer is going to be negative. But if they're both the same, then the answer is positive. Well, if we know that rule, let's get into the order of operations. The order of operations says that we're going to use P. This stands for parentheses. We should all know what that symbol looks like. This stands for exponents. This is the letter E. Then we have multiplication and division, and then adding and subtracting. So we always have to go ahead and know what an exponent looks like. Let's say that I have 2 to the third power. This stands for 2 times 2 times 2. I need to multiply this 2 3 different times in a row. Well, this is going to give me 4, because 2 times 2 is 4, and that 4 times that 2, that's going to give me 8. So what does the M stand for again? Multiplication, and now the D stands for division. I always have to do that, okay? From the left side, I need to work to the right side. So the same thing goes for adding and subtracting. I always need to start on the left and then move to the right for adding and subtracting. So let me give you guys a problem here. Let me say 4 plus 3 times 2 to the third power, and then I'm going to put times 9, take away 10, divided by -1. See, this problem right here has a little bit of everything for us. We have some addition, some subtraction, some multiplication, parentheses, exponents, and division. The order of operations says I have to start with this inside. This is going to go ahead and give me -1 right here. Well, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to see that I still have to divide by -1. Okay, you can still see that. And now I still need to multiply by 2 to the third power and multiply by 3 plus 4. So the only thing I did was I did the inside of the parentheses. Well, this is checked off. We've definitely done that. Let's do next on our order of operations. Let's do the exponents. Well, we already know that this is 2 to the third, and 2 to the third was equal to what number? It was equal to 8. So I'm going to go ahead and put this as 8. Well, I still need to multiply by -1. I need to divide by -1. and I need to multiply by 3, and there's a plus sign with the 4 there. So the only thing I've done is I used my exponent. So I've done that exponent. So that's kind of good. I'm knocking it off. Each step, I'm going to change a different color. Next, let me go ahead and multiply and divide. And which side do I need to start on? The left. So let me start on the left. A lot of people want to add this 4 and the 3, but I'm not supposed to. I'm actually supposed to multiply the 3 and the 8. This is going to give me 24. Now, I'm going to keep on moving to the left. Now, I'm going to write down this plus 4 here, just so you don't forget about it. It's still needing to be added, but I have to multiply and divide from the left to the right before I add or subtract. So, I'm going to multiply by -1, and then I'm going to divide by a -1. Well, we already went over the rule. If we multiply, and I'll put that multiplication symbol so you can see it a little bit clearer, and one is positive and the other one's negative, this is -24 divided by -1. Well, what was our rule when both of them were the same sign? If both of them are negative, we're always going to get a positive. So this is going to be 24. Now, I'm going to bring back down that plus 4. It never went anywhere. You still have to add it. And this is going to give you a grand total of a sum of 28. So if you're using the order of operations, you're going to get a solution of 28. Well, we're going to be going over this more next week. You guys have a good one.